Esty Ash lives in Johannesburg, South Africa, with her family.
Kids were older. They were all avid bike riders. Uriel went outside. He was going up the road. He didn't take his helmet. And he was riding in the street. And a car, it was a very narrow street with cars parked on both sides, and a car was obviously trying to get through. With Uriel in the street, he couldn't, so he hooted at Uriel. Uriel turned around to look at the car, and as he turned his bike in front of the car as well, and the car hit him. And he flew off his bike over the hood of the car and smashed the windscreen with his head. The ambulance came to take us, and I was asking them questions, and they didn't answer me, and he was unconscious. There was no response. When we got to the hospital, they took Uriel away to try to resuscitate him, and they sent me to fill in the form. And one of the questions on the form is age. Now, this was a week before Uriel's 14th birthday, but I desperately needed 14, so I didn't write 13. I wrote 14. Even though he was technically still 13, I needed that 14, so I wrote 14. And that became relevant later, too. They called me in to talk to him and hold his hand and see if it would elicit a reaction, and it didn't. A lady came, she gave me some money to make a phone call, and I phoned Michael, and Michael's my husband, and I made it sound like it wasn't serious, and he came to the hospital, and then they called us both in to see if we could get a reaction out of Uriel, hold his hand, stroke his head, talk to him. There was nothing. And I think when Michael realized the gravity of the situation, he phoned Rabbi Lipsker, who was a close friend of ours. He phoned the Rebbe's office for a bracha, and also because there was no reaction from Uriel, the doctor in charge, the registrar in charge of trauma, casualty, had decided that they weren't going to take any active medical care as far as he was concerned. They were just going to leave him. And then came the Rebbe's bracha. The Rebbe basically said, Askir al Atzion, we should hear Basuras Tovos. And there was a specific message to the doctor saying that he is a rofe, and as a rofe, a doctor, he is a shaliach of Hashem. And his job is to administer treatment and do whatever he can, and Hashem will decide the outcome. And as a result of that, he decided to go against the instructions of his superior doctor and administer treatment. So they took Uriel, they didn't even put him in ICU because they weren't going to bother doing anything with him, but they put him in a normal ward. Now, the best ward in the hospital was the pediatric ward, and the maximum age for the pediatric ward is 13. But I'd written 14 on the form. But Gary Schwartz, the doctor, knowing that this was the best ward in the hospital, put him into the pediatric ward. And against the instructions of his superior doctor, he put him on a respirator and administered whatever medical treatment he could for Uriel to save his life. Early the next morning, at about 6, Uriel came to. And all I could say is that it was seeing the Nefesh Elokis at work, because with his eyes still closed, he did this, and he did this. He wanted Negelvas. I mean, he had just come round. It was amazing. And when the doctor in charge came to do his rounds and he saw that Uriel was wide awake, I think he learned a very big lesson. But as for Gary, this was the first step in his journey to becoming frum. He had witnessed a miracle.